tolerate, please, another year of torture and abuse on our children to attend a public education system.
All right, we're done talking to each other. Now it's time to talk to you on Talkin' Racine. George Myers to my left.
Good morning.
Jim Spodek to my right.
Good morning.
I'm right here in the middle, Dr. Ken Jorgen. We're going to talk today. Well, we're not going to talk first. We're going to see a video first.
Yeah, I want to bring
it off with a video.
Let's kick it off with it's Burlington School citizens, parents addressing the Burlington School Board in the last week or so, and I just want to kind of touch on that. So it's a news article from WISN. I want to touch on that, and we kind of come back and we'll talk about it a little bit.
I want to ask you though: did they get vehement, caustic, and sometimes unpleasantly sharp?
A little bit.
We're going to find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
The board planned for an hour of public comment, but 5 minutes before the end here at the high school, things got, as the board president calls it, chaotic.
Masks will not do anything to stop the virus.
In the waning minutes of public comment on whether Burlington schools should require masks this fall, school board president Peter Turk says there was a shift.
The tone in the room started to get more raucous and less respectful.
We're not going to tolerate, please, another year of torture and abuse on our children to attend a public education system.
Again, it got to a point where it was getting chaotic.
Have you walked around all summer with masks on? I don't see one of you with a mask on. Why should our kids? Oh no, we should all wear masks. This is ridiculous. Grow up and get a pair of...
That's when the board ended the meeting.
We'd like to be able to continue the meeting. We cannot do so though if we have... Ma'am, can you sit down? We can't do so if we're going to have just chaos. This is not working for us.
Majority of the board, the entire board, felt at this point we just needed to take a breath as a community because I think things had gotten out of control during this meeting.
The school board is expected to call a special meeting on the mask policy in the coming days. The board president tells me they're not expected to take public comment at that one. At Burlington High School, Nick Board, WISN.
Looks like things got a little bit heated.
He mentioned it got out of control. It was more like out of communication. I think what we had there was a failure to communicate. The citizens were trying to say something and the board couldn't hear it.
Yeah. There was communication, but not what some people wanted to hear. And like you said, it was the board. They didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And go back a little bit, and I want to bring in Racine now after this a little bit, but I do want to talk about, it was a case, New York Times versus Sullivan, 1964, and it basically came down, and the Supreme Court ruled on this when in situations like Burlington where you heard this, they weren't respectful, and they, but you're right, the board didn't want to hear it, but the fact is those citizens have a right to speak like that in the First Amendment. It said freedom of the press under the First and 14th Amendment. Not only freedom of the press, freedom for you to redress your government. Establishes the national commitment to the country that debate concerning public issues should be uninhibited, robust, and wide open, which may sometimes include vehement, caustic, and sometimes unpleasantly sharp attacks on government and public officials.
That is a very good statement.
It is.
And
that is constitutionally...
Those people weren't even to that degree,
No.
a lot of those. Those were simply say, why you're not wearing a mask, why should our kids wear a mask?
Right.
What's so caustic about that, except they're ticked off when they say it,
Exactly. But this is where I think speech is happening. We were supposed to be this I don't know, one of you guys said that democracy is messy.
A lot of people have said that.
Yeah. So, part of this is, you're not going to get the most elegant speakers up there when they're angry, and especially when you're talking about kids and masks and, all issues that come up. But people are ticked off. And when they come up, they may not say exactly, do it in a well-versed manner, but they have a right to say that, and to have the board say, we're going to take a break, we're not going to hear you, and then we're not going to have public comment at another meeting. Wrong.
Well, in a totalitarian state, you do not see things like that. Everything's very peaceful and quiet.
Yeah.
But the real violence goes on in the background. They knock on the door in the night, and your neighbor's suddenly gone.
Really? Can you make a phone call and have that happen? Just kidding.
The thing is that what you saw there, unfortunately, was democracy in action. Democracy gets pretty boisterous because and I think it comes down to what we talked about earlier about communication. Communication involves not only saying something but having the other side duplicate what you say.
Listen to
what you say and understand it. If the other side refuses to hear it or understand it, then it's not really communication. It's just noise. If I go over and I talk to that wall, that's not communication. I'm not communicating with the wall because the wall can't understand anything I'm saying. So it's not really communication. I'm talking to a wall, and I don't think anybody would call that communication. And so when the people get up there like that and they're talking to these people, these 8 people that were sitting up there, and nobody hears what they're saying, nobody can understand it, wants to hear what they're saying, it's really not communication.
Well, that's
and
the
the
problem.
communication breaks down, and now all of a sudden you've got this wild situation, and unfortunately that's why democracy runs into barriers, because one side doesn't want to hear what the other side's saying, and then all of a sudden it gets a little noisy.
It's important to be nice, but I tell you what, when nice doesn't get you anywhere, and you got someplace to be, you end up raising your voice.
That's right, and you know what? None of it turned violent. You didn't see any chairs thrown around, no walls broken, nothing burned or anything like that.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll get there yet.
I don't think they would. I don't think those would, because that's their school, it's their building. They're all working taxpayers. They don't want to burn it down. They got to turn around and build it back up.
Well, what I want to do now is I want to take us to. We did this in episode 148, and we had talked about this earlier.
Did you hear what he just said?
Yeah,
we did that episode 148. You see what we got to put up with?
He's got all this stuff in his mind, what happened in every episode.
But
what happened in episode 148?
Well, we talked about how in Racine, how the Common Council has gone from, we talk about communication.
Oh, that episode 148. Yeah.
Okay, we talk about communication. You guys got to pick up back there.
Public comment. How about public comments?
Public comments
in front of the city council.
I'll remember that number.
Yeah. And we're going to go back to 2006 and what it was, and we're only talking 15 years, and how these public comments have changed from 2006 to 2020 or 19.
The rules, the guidelines for public comments.
And this is where, when you see something like this in Burlington, it kind of brought that episode 148 back. So I'm just going to jump in there, and we can stop and we can talk about it a little bit. But I want to show the audience in 15 years how the Racine Common Council has changed on public comments.
Public comments.
Yes, Your Honor, and members of the council. We have several people that have signed up to speak. Before we start, I would like to remind everyone that each speaker has 3 minutes and that there is to be no debate, no discussion, no dialogue, and no interaction among the speakers, elected officials, or staff. Our first speaker...
That was pretty straightforward.
12 seconds. That's what it was, 12 seconds.
Well, 12 seconds. Anyway, it was very, very concise, very short. That was the total introduction to...
Didn't bring up anything, about...
I got everything I needed to know out of it.
Right. All right, speakers, come on up. Start. You can address the Common Council.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to go to the John Dickert era.
Public comments.
The public comment segment is an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to the Common Council. It is not intended to be a debate or discussion. There should be no dialogue or interaction between the speaker, elected officials, or the staff. City staff will endeavor to respond at a later time to individuals who present a specific question. Speakers will limit their remarks to 3 minutes, and we will be using a timer system up here. Our first speaker tonight...
They doubled the time.
Yeah, double the time.
A little bit more than double.
Now they brought in a timer.
Yeah.
And if you notice, John Dickert on the desk had an egg timer. He was
making
sure,
yeah.
We don't want something said out there that could possibly upset us. So now they
it's sliding a little bit over more towards the authoritarian side of government.
Exactly. And that was a big thing. I remember, in some of those meetings, and you guys maybe even were there, where he would start listening. I remember Dennis Monty coming up and talking to him about, I don't know exactly what it was, but he starts addressing Dennis Monty.
Oh, yeah, he violated the rules.
Yeah, he violates the rule. So when you didn't want to hear it, I'm going to come out there and I'm going to tell you, what the facts are, because these are the facts. And he did that multiple times as mayor. But
by the way, just as a side thing, years ago, now this goes back 30, 40 years, when I was with Taxpayers Association, you went up to the front of the room and spoke. Where the mayor makes his annual thing and when that special thing, that's where you spoke from, and you faced questions from the aldermen if they wanted to question.
To me, that's a great way.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That way, you get this communication going. And maybe the alderman doesn't understand it, or maybe you don't understand it. I think that's a great way to handle it. That's the way government should work, not this look down on you. Remember, we own the government. Remember.
Well, things must have gotten better now, right?
Well, let's see. Let's take a look, Doc.
Okay.
The public comment segment is an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to the Common Council. Speakers will limit their remarks to 3 minutes. There shall be no dialogue or interaction between the speaker and elected officials or staff. This time is not intended to be a debate or discussion. The Common Council shall not hear personal complaints or attacks against any city employee or elected official or any matter related to an individual claim, citation, appeal, or lawsuit. Profane, disruptive, threatening, or conduct that otherwise impedes the safe, orderly, and effective conduct of the Common Council meeting is equally unacceptable during the public comment period, as it is during all other portions of city meetings. When a group of people representing one viewpoint wishes to address the council, one person should appear the designated speaker for the group. Candidates for public office may not use this opportunity to campaign for office. Speakers during the public comment period shall follow all rules of the Common Council and rulings of the chair, including a decision to terminate the remarks if the speaker does not adhere to the rules. Public comment shall be limited to ideas or concerns regarding the city of Racine. There will be 9 speakers.
Wake up, George.
Huh? Oh, is it over?
It's over, all right. It's dead. Minute and 12 seconds. Unbelievable.
I mean, what are you going to talk about? What's left to talk about?
Yeah. You can be nice, you can be polite, and you can be, speak fair roads and good weather. Now it's interesting. I don't think anybody in the whole Burlington video complied with what Racine would be.
Nothing.
I mean, it would be it just.
Well, then they shut you off. They shut your mic off. Now, here's where I would go, because that is strictly Scott Letney, the city attorney, that put that in. Of course, Mason, I'm sure, is full support, but that should be challenged in court. That is an automatic win. You can, no way. That should be brought into court immediately. So if anybody out there wants to start a court, we've got so many court cases, we can't get to that one right now. But that one should definitely be challenged.
I'd like to take it a step up on that, Jim. I'd like it to be challenged at the ballot box. I really think
now you're talking.
I think we really need a new mayor that doesn't push things like that, and have a city attorney that provides things like that, and a city council that approves things like that. So
you know how this came about? This show actually came about because we had gotten calls from individuals concerned about the budget in the city of Racine, where they're not having input. Now it's Zoom. This was in 2019. It went from that to now no discussion whatsoever. So now you're talking about city employees who, or concerned employees, or just citizens that want to weigh in on the budget. I mean, it's all high level. It's what we do, and even if you are involved with that, I'm sorry, you don't really have much to say about it. And that's what's going on. And so as far as, it used to be the department heads would come up and explain, why they bought a fire truck, or why they needed a fire truck, or, certain things within the city. So the individuals and the citizens would know, what's actually happening. And when they see something, they would understand why. There was some explanation. That's all gone. That's gone. And it's all high level. And matter of fact, the citizens, I rarely see citizens now on Zoom questioning or asking questions. I mean, has
Well,
me
who wants to
call
go and talk to the city council on Zoom, for crying out loud?
and obviously they don't listen.
You can't even see who you're talking to. You can see something on the screen, but it's not the same as an individual, right?
But you can just see how we lost it. 2006, letter rep Gary Becker just saying, well, let's get the speakers up here. And then to this where, I mean, it was, I don't know what you would talk about because everything was restricted. You know?
No, you couldn't talk anything that you're upset about, at least been upset about. So, you can talk about how nice things are.
And that strictly goes to that legal department at the city of Racine. That is anti-First Amendment. There's no doubt about it.
Well, they're certainly not interested in you practicing your First Amendment rights in a setting like that. That's for sure.
Well, I'm upset.
No, Doc, I don't know what to tell you.
I wonder what it's going to be like when they actually reconvene in the council chambers. Yeah.
I don't know if they will. I'll be honest.
I could see where they wouldn't. It'd be a little scary for them now to actually have people live and in front of them.
Right.
Yeah, they might say something like, it's been so successful having these Zoom meetings that we see no reason to expose the public to the dangers of whatever the dangers are currently. So we're going to just continue with Zoom.
Dangers of hearing public opinion, someone's opinion about something.
Yeah, well, let's see. What else have we got an opinion about? But I think we all have an opinion about the Sandy Weidner case.
We do.
We keep talking about Sandy's case, and because it won't go away.
It's
been since, 2017. That's 4 years ago, and this thing is still going on, and it is absolutely total BS. Absolutely BS. I mean, God, it's hard to even approach a discussion about it because it's so aggravating.
Here's the thing that, for people that maybe haven't heard the whole our talk about it for all these years, it's over an open records request. Now, these are very simple legal procedures. You have a right to find out what's going on in the government, and so you ask the government for that information, and they should give it to you. It should not be getting involved with years of litigation, tens of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands at this point. It's well over 100. I think it's probably
over $2.
I think it'll be $250,000 at least before it's over.
And it started off over a series of emails, all of which were disclosed and shown to the members of the Common Council. So everybody on the Common Council saw these emails. And all that was requested was a copy of those emails that the whole Common Council had seen. And all of a sudden, they became very secretive, closing down. Not only were the emails secretive, but the case itself was secretive. You couldn't find it on the internet under WSCAP.
I got a little different opinion about when it started. I think it started when it was realized that Sandy Weidner was the front runner in the mayoral race.
I agree.
That's when I think it started. And I think Scott Letney's behind it, quite honestly.
Yeah, and I think Corey Mason's behind it. I think this was a ploy to go after Sandy Weidner.
Well, that's why it came about. But
and I think it came about because it was Machinery Row. She had done some videos that said, we're going to get to the bottom of Machinery Row, and that is... You've got the district attorney, you've got some state representatives, you've got a current mayor, and you've got the city attorney all involved in Machinery Row. And who better to put this case together but all four of those?
And I think what you're talking about is the reason why it got so secretive. The point was, though, is that when you're doing an open records request, you're looking for records that are kind of hidden records that you want to see for some reason. In other words,
well, they're not hidden. They're just
they're not exposed.
They're in the custody of the city, and in order to access them, you have to go and.
Yeah, a good example is most recently another big, huge brief was filed by the city against Sandy Weidner. Now we know this. What are you figuring? That's a $10,000-$20,000 brief.
Oh yeah, easy.
All right. Now the thing is, we don't know. It hasn't been published. So we're going to do an open records. We're probably going to do an open records because we want to know how much was spent on the brief. Simple. All right.
I'd like to know how much you spent on this total case.
Right. Now here's the thing with that we haven't had nothing been disclosed, nothing been shown yet. In the Sandy Weidner case, the emails were shown. It was be like, we've already seen the briefs, they've already shown us how much it costs, we put an open records request in for it, and they say, no, we can't show it to you, and we're not going to show it to you.
Well, she wanted to see
it's that type of sequence that's going on that's got it so darn ridiculous.
She wanted to see the evidence that was being used against her.
Correct.
I mean,
Which were those emails.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a PowerPoint.
It was a PowerPoint presentation that had been shown to the entire Common Council.
Well, their
argument already been disclosed.
Here's the real.
I just want to put one thing, just so people don't say, well, if she's already seen it, why is she asking for it? It's because there were a lot of them, and no record was kept during the meeting. She wasn't writing down every single email, so she wanted it in writing.
Well, because she didn't realize initially that she was the guest of honor that somebody was looking at.
That's another reason. Because there were two other aldermen. Yeah, at the time there were two other aldermen that eventually got dropped. But the point was that it had been shown. Right, go ahead, Jim. I just want to make that clear.
One of the things though is the argument that the city is saying now that that was a work product by the attorney, so that was his legal work product, which is total absolute BS.
Yeah, that gets
he was never a legal advisor on that. He brought up he called a executive committee. The committee was bogus. All he did was try to put Sandy in bad public light. And when the mayor won, Corey Mason beat Sandy. Then all of a sudden it was all gone. That's when Sandy said, "Hey, I want to see it." They never ever thought Sandy Weidner would grab onto a pant leg like she has and has ridden this thing through the secret court of Judge Gaskargevich, who then puts a contempt of court on her, and we had to get that court opened so people could actually see it. I mean, you're talking about a secret court in the city of Racine. From there, it goes to the appeals court, which is then a rigged court, who then kicks it back, and it goes to Judge Kirkman in Kenosha, who completely seals the whole thing after the appeals court said open up some of those things and give them. He seals everything with no case law whatsoever. Now, it's again going up to the appeals court to be reviewed again.
Now, wait a minute. He did have case law. Remember, it was a hypothetical case from law school that he based his decision on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kirkman did. Yeah,
it was. I think we did this in law school. A bunch of kids in the dorm. What?
It was
talk about an absolute horrible judge. I mean, he's worse than Gaskargevich, and that is, truthfully, I honestly believe.
You might have a libel case coming after you, man.
Yeah, worse. These guys it's unbelievable, these rulings. But anyway.
Well, and they keep trying to hide behind attorney-client privilege, which, like, Letney is the attorney for the city, so the city is a client?
Yeah, the city is a
client. The city hasn't said don't disclose it. He's the only one that's been arguing that it should be.
If you really get into a real courtroom and you get in front of real judges who make actual determinations by law, this thing is going to fly out of there. The wings are going to grow and it's going to take off, because there's no way that this thing can be held up. And this will go to the Supreme Court. If it goes to the appeals court, which I have to believe that this is going to get overturned, and there's going to be a point here where there's going to to me, there should be sanctions on this thing if it went back to the city. But
well, some people ought to lose their license to practice law.
This is so bad. But this is it's a rigged game. I can't think of any other words for it other than rigged. This has been rigged through the courts.
Yeah. Well, the whole system is rigged. You just got to stay on the right side of it.
Yeah, as long as you can.
If you're on the wrong side of it, man, you are screwed.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, morally, ethically, or even legally a good part of the time.
Right.
If you're on the wrong side of it, you're
what
you're
happens,
get
and I'm sure what's happened here is we'll burn her out. We'll burn Weidner case out with city money, your tax dollars, and I'm sure that's what the initial idea was. We'll just keep going. I mean, I give her credit, man. She hangs on like a pit bull.
Yeah.
You know.
They mess with the wrong little blonde.
Yeah.
That's their problem.
Yeah,
God bless her, man. I'm proud of her. I really am. So right now it's attorney's eyes only, which is
exactly
that was crazy. Where Sandy couldn't even see.
No, they actually brought it up because she was.
And how is she supposed to help in the defense if she's not even allowed to see?
It's so bizarre, George. So bizarre. The attorney's
I don't
eyes
know how
only.
you come up with something.
So the
like that.
attorneys can make sure that the ruling on the woman who's going to court and paying the bills, but has nothing to say about her own case. I mean, it's so bizarre. I mean, that's the new America.
Well, and the interesting thing is that other entities around the country, other legal minds have looked at this case because it has gotten out there, and they're astonished by what's going on in Racine, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Racine, Wisconsin, you have a couple of newspapers there. Is it time for George Looks at the News, or
did you want to look at that one?
Or did you just bring them along in case you needed something to sit on?
I thought it was interesting that essential workers are to get a pay raise. Now, we've been through this essential stuff. That when it first came out, remember, only essential businesses could stay open. And it was like, okay, who's deciding what's essential? I mean, and everybody's business when your livelihood is coming off of it is essential, right?
Oh yeah.
So, but the essential workers basically were they're going to get the wages. It's going to be the county jail correctional officers, 9/11 dispatch officers, juvenile detention workers, mental health crisis workers, and highway department machine operators and mechanics. Now, those are the essential
Highway department.
Yeah. Well, here's what I think is very interesting. Anybody that is providing you food, shelter, or clothing is not on that list.
Or health care.
So those are,
What about the people that are exposed to the COVID-19 working in the hospital?
None of those people are essential, apparently. None of them are getting raises. It's basically people in government. So it's showing where we're getting to. We're getting to that level where the essential workers, the essential people are the government, and the rest of us down here are just clawing around like worms in the ground, trying to keep things fertilized and growing. Yeah. That's where we are.
I think we're going to leave on that one.
You're a bottom feeder. That's a real bottom feeder. No, I agree. George. I agree. I mean, we've gotten this whole mentality that government somehow, and I look at that Common Council and I see that continuously, that they actually believe that government is the answer.
Yeah.
They actually believe that. And
what's the question then?
Well, the question is who really operates it. I mean, we the people. And I have to say, I took a shot of a guy. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it up because I said to this guy, hey, can I take a shot of your shirt? He turned around. He was so proud. He stood up and I'm going to put it on the screen before we go. And it said, we the people are pissed off.
Yeah, it's time for people to come out and start demanding their proper place in a free society. And if we're not going to do that, then we're going to lose it. That's all there is to it.
Well, you're free to lose it too,
Yeah, right.
That's an expression of freedom.
You can
in
do
some
that.
kind of weird way. That's an expression of freedom.
Yeah. You're free to live as a slave if that's where you want to go.
Yeah. So it's your choice out there, folks. But you don't have to decide before next week. So come back and see us, and we'll give you some more information and maybe help you with that decision. Thanks for being here.